using it?
No, to pitfalls. So if you've signed the lease as of November 30th, signed a listing, signed a buyer rep, signed anything, they're good until March 1st.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, so this site has a lot of the Q&As on it. It has the forms on it. The forms are completely. Another email just came out like 5 minutes ago. I've copied that on a slide. I think on the slide at the end where there's a registration for the 30th and there's another registration now for the 6th. 5th, whatever. Yeah. But it has, and it's updated forms. Yeah. So yeah. Oh, well, you put it on first. Okay, so this is it. So there is a course on November 30th at 1 o'clock that you can register for right now under that AREA/TRESA. If you can't make that, there's one December 6th at 10. So you can go on to this AREA/TRESA and register for these, okay? If you have any questions, you can try Ray Ferris. Email him, send him a note if there's any questions. I'm going to answer as many of the questions the best that I can here. If there are not questions, if there's questions that I cannot answer, we're going to write them down and then we're going to email the group. Okay, the updated standards forms along with the other forms cannot be here. Okay, can be found here, but they're still updating them. So you can see forms. I actually have a listing form that I'm going to show you today that will just talk again about designation and who's what in multiple representation, because I think that's the main change. So I'm not going to mention anything about customer. It's going to be SRP, self-represented parties. And there are actually four kinds of self-represented parties. Okay, so it seems like a lot of information. As I say, it's as clear as mud. I am available for any questions. We will go through as best as we can. I don't know if you've all watched all the videos and got clarity on it or not, but it's still really not that clear. The definition of everything is not really clear. So thanks. Again, okay. So what are the key changes that are included in the second phase? Of course, the first phase was the, to designate yourself as a corporation, and that was done, 2 years ago. They're calling this the second phase because nothing has been changed since 2020 in the Toronto Real Estate Act. They're leaving it as TRESA 2020. They're amending it. So that's the reason why they've changed the name and they've changed some of the documents that will continue to grow. There'll be a TRESA in 2025 that will still be called TRESA 2020. That's one. So we're introducing the designated representation, which will allow, they feel that the consumers have not been clearly represented, clearly defined knowledge. One of the big things that I'm very excited about, I think you guys know my passion of do not spin your wheels until you have somebody signed. Do not spin your wheels until you've met somebody face to face. Do not spin your wheels until you've got a contract signed. Why would you waste your time? If you're a hairdresser, you're going to cut the hair and then get them to pay for it after you've signed them in. Most commonly, they have your credit card number on file or they ask for your credit card number before you book the appointment. We're seeing a lot of that now. You can't go with your groceries and walk out and pay later. People are asking for pay for up front now. So what we're wanting to do is to make sure that you have clearly explained the working with a realtor and the working with a real estate agent, which is now a 13-page document, and page 13 is the signature to verify that you've actually explained the document to them. If they say they didn't explain this, and this does not go in DocuSign, unless you write everything down and say it's 13 pages and I want your initial at the bottom of each page, which it does not call for, but I would recommend it. Nobody should be sending out a DocuSign with just the verbal communication that you've had. Every DocuSign that you send out should have, this is the listing agreement. As we discussed, it's listed for 1.5 million. Our commissions are 5%. 2.5 coming to our brokerage and 2.5 coming to the other brokerage. So many people are not clear. They're going 5% plus 2.5%. No, it's 5% total and 2.5 going to the other side. You explain everything, and the new listing agreements will have an explanation of all of this. So what I'm asking is that you explain everything in your DocuSigns of working with the realtor, your listing document, your buyer document, your self-represented document, your offers definitely should have, don't send your offer. We're actually in court right now on a big commission, a very large commission, for somebody who is agent number one signed them in April. Our agent signed them in March. In May. So the agent in April said, well, I signed them under a buyer agreement first. And the client is saying, I never signed a buyer agreement. Had told our agent, I never signed a buyer agreement. And clearly our agent, for all of the documentation she's got and all the questions that were asked in her DocuSign, it's clear as anything can be clear that the first agent did not explain the buyer representation. So when they came to us to try to settle for $500, $1,000, you could not a penny will go to the first buyer agent. Nothing was explained. In the offer was the offer that was sent, the working with the realtor and the buyer rep. The Schedule B, it was all muddled up, right? So one document, click, 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 click. So that agent feels that she can get this large commission, and no, our agent will end up getting it, I'm sure. If not, then I will absolutely lose mine. So we're introducing this representation, so everybody should be clear on self-represented limited, self-represented multiple representation, and self-multiple representation. Okay, we're updating the technical requirements, self-represented parties. So that's where we're really going with this. This is where we really need to be clear. Permitting the open offers. I'm not going to touch on this a lot. I don't know why you would encourage your seller to do an open offer. You have seen, if you've been in multiple offers, where someone will jump $20,000, $30,000. In the open offer, they see you have 1.2 and I have 1.3. The 1.2 ain't going to come back. But in the closed offers, the 1.2 may come back and the 1.3 could say, well, you know, I better mine. I mean, we're not working with a seller if we're doing the open. I honestly agree. I honestly believe that. You may disagree. If you decide to do open offers, it must be communicated to every buyer agent that you are doing open offers. And what's open? Is it that you're giving the price? Is it that you're giving the closing date? Which is pretty open. I mean, that's the only thing that we can disclose. Are you giving the price? Are you giving no conditions? Are you giving everything that's in the offer of sale purchase property? You must disclose exactly the same to every offer that has been registered. If an offer comes in from a buyer and they say, we understand you're doing open offers, we do not want to participate in the open offer with your seller, that offer is negated. It is no longer in play. So don't allow them to register it. Because what you're doing is you're saying, I have 5 offers, and the 5th offer that's come in has said, I don't want to be an open offer. You have to say, I only have 4 offers. If they've all of a sudden come to the table and you've got 5 registered offer and the buyer agent says to you, my guys don't want to share anything in their offer, then you have to tell them that I need to rescind your offer, take it off the table, and I've got to page out to the other agents that we only have 4 now.
I understand that can also change at minute to minute during the course of
Yep.
the offers. So the seller can say, I'd like to all be open. Everyone puts it on the table, then he goes, I want it all not be closed. Once you're already.
Yeah. So when the offers come in and you indicated to everyone at 8 o'clock that the offers will be an open offer. I'm disclosing the price. I'm disclosing the seller. The seller, this is what they're trying to make clear. That our agreements are with the party that we're representing. So the seller has said, oh, 5 offers. Look at how good these are. You know what? I changed my mind. I don't want to disclose any of it. Then you have to call all 5 agents and say, you know what? My seller has changed their mind. Nothing will be disclosed. Now, every agent that has taken the TRESA, that understands it, will go, oh, that's a catastrophe. Like, seriously, my buyers. So this is the explanation that you need to give to your buyer. Today, the seller has said that they're going to look at open offers, but tonight they've changed their mind.
That communication with buyer agents, they have to be
In writing. Yeah. Yep.
Should that kind of,
Reduce everything to writing, guys. We're in something that's really huge. If you don't have it documented, I mean, look at this case in point that I'm dealing with right now for a very large commission. If she hadn't documented and she hadn't done her proper DocuSign forms and she hadn't clearly explained and answered questions regarding the document that they're signing, then we would be in he said, she said, he said, she said. The first person that had them signed in April didn't explain anything. They went through a 30-page document and signed it. The second one, our agent clearly explained everything that they were signing page by page. So it's a pretty clear-cut case.
How do you discern who explained it versus who didn't explain it?
We have documentation. So first agent said I explained it, but it was a 20-page document. Click, 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 click. And second agent, our agent, has recordings of answered questions, emails of answered questions about the buyer representation and about what it all entails. And if they were to buy, and if they did not disclose that they had signed something else, they may be up against paying 2 commissions. So it lies really in the buyer's court, but it clearly shows that our agent did the right thing.
let's say you have a closing or offers at 5, you put that out, we want offers at 5 p.m. And after 5 p.m., the seller decides, and it's open offer. Then the seller decides at 5:05, I'm going to close it. Anyone that's come through, like an agent that's come through, should we also give that information, even if they haven't provided offers by 5 p.m., that it's now?
Yeah, then you'd have to go back and say, you know, we just
To
closed it.
everybody.
If you want to come back
Yeah,
and your offer, absolutely.
Okay.
And you'd have to let everybody else know. Now they've decided to close. We've got 2 agents coming back.
Right.
It's like, you know what? As long as you're clear with your buyers and your sellers, we won't have a problem. But that's the thing. This is out of our hands. What they're trying to decipher here is that we have a clear understanding that we take direction from our buyers and from our sellers. We don't decide.
I just had a question about that situation with the other 2 agents. The agent who signed the BRA in April, did they continue taking out the buyers
No.
instead of the properties?
They did one offer.
One
one buyer
offer,
rep.
and then went completely silent and said, those are my client.
You get a buyer rep for, you know, let's say the June, July.
Obviously doing a great job. Okay,
So that's pretty clear on the seller's direction, right? We have clear direction from the seller, clear direction from the buyer.
Now, the seller changing their mind on like, open close, like that has to be through email, obviously.
Absolutely, yeah.
There's no
Yeah,
form or
just
anything, there's no
obvious.
form or anything.
There probably will be a
Yeah.
form.
For
Does broker
changing.
base suffice, like through sending through?
An email, as long as you send it to everybody, yeah. Yeah, and ask them to reply that they got it. I mean, we really have to define, right? Did you receive it? I've sent this out to 5 agents. Have you received it? There's only 4 offers now. Please acknowledge your receipt. And if they haven't acknowledged, text and phone them, acknowledge somehow. Open offers. Anything else on offers, directions, sellers, directions? Strengthening written agreement and disclosure requirements. So the disclosure, so you have an SPIS from a seller that is, which I highly recommend not to do. They're saying, our wiring was all updated. Well, they got a shitty electrician. I'm potty mouth today. Somebody start charging me $5. They got a really bad electrician, and the electrician left some knob and tube in there. They have written down on their SPIS that they have all new wiring, and they don't. Then you just open them up for some legal problem, right? So please make it clear. Don't. I recommend not to use an SPIS. I don't see any reason why you would want to use that. Nobody can say anything for gospel. I sold a beautiful brand new build home. It was barely a few years old, and somebody had taken in an electrical lamp wire and used it as wire from an outlet to a switch to make that switch work. And it was just like, little thin, like, it was put together with hockey tape. So it was pretty bad. Yeah, and yeah, the inspectors can't see through the wall, but when the people start opening up the wall, that's where they find it. It was nasty. I mean, nothing ever went anywhere, but it was nasty for me to try to kill it. The new information of the consumer guides. This consumer information guide should be shared with everyone. And this you can get online on the area/TRESA.com. The information guide. Now, this clearly defines what the representations are, who's right, who's wrong, but this is a clear indication of what RICO and TRESA are putting together is the consumer information guide. We'll go on about that in a bit. Updating the code of asset ethics. So what they're gonna do with the code of ethics is they're gonna take it only for the transaction of real estate. They're going to take it that, like they're gonna define really what is the code of ethics of you making an appointment and not showing up. Oh, you've breached a big code problem. Big. Now, that's really important, guys. I mean, you know, not only does it upset your sellers, but one of our agents many, many years ago was sued because she never showed for an appointment. She never canceled the appointment and the house got robbed. She was the last person in there. And so they accused her of not locking up correctly. She never went to the house. So it's really important. If you are going to, let's say you're sitting out front of a house and your client says, we've decided we don't want to see that. We don't like the look of it. We don't like the street. Let's move on. You need to either cancel it immediately at the office and explain why, or actually go open the door, unlock it, and go in. There, you've gone in. Okay? One or the other. Don't negate not finishing that showing, okay? Really, really important. That's a major burn for the code of ethics. I don't know, there's millions of them, but they're making it really a defined, I think they narrowed it down to 5 pages. So it's really important. There will be 5 pages of good read to make sure that you are, yeah. I don't know if you guys are seeing this of late, but we're getting a lot of showings on our broker bay and then cancellations. All they're trying to find out is, are we getting multiple offers? Are they getting, you know, so it's a sneaky thing, but good idea. But they're updating the code of ethics to be principle based by moving the technical and procedural requirements. So technical will be one thing that will stay with the code of ethics, but the procedural requirements will be really clear, really clear. So that will be something that we might have to do a class on that for sure. Updating the regulatory powers and the tools of RICO, including revising the procedures of its discipline committee. So I don't have any idea. You know what? I would like them to revise it because fair is fair and they're not fair. It's like one case could be different from another case. And I've seen lots of cases that are just, you know, dragged on for no reason whatsoever. It's just their discipline committee is, I talked to a guy the other day. What was his, he was a property manager. That was his vocation. What do you have to do with buy and sell of real estate? You're a property manager. What are you acting on behalf of RICO for? I was like, I lost it. Anyways, Mark Morris, God bless our in-house lawyer, has been wonderful and we're so the consumer information guide. What is new in the information guide? When do I have to give it to my clients? They're not a client or they're not a self-represented party until you've actually explained it to them. So this guide, 2 of them, the information guide is a new document that will be produced by, so it's not finished yet, aimed at enhancing the consumer protection by providing consumers the background knowledge of the obligations that are to be done through as a buyer agent, as a listing agent, or as a self-represented party that we're going to act with.
Is this kind of like a new working with a realtor? Will it replace working with a realtor?
No,
or will it
working
be
with a
additional?
realtor has enhanced itself a little. There's a whole document here that you could actually, when you meet somebody, send it to them.
So pretty much just first meeting, give that to them.
Yeah,
Where is that document currently housed on?
oria/tresa.com. It's on the bottom of every, okay, so all the documents, all the Q&A, all of this is on Oria. No, it's oria/tresa.com. This is backwards. Sorry, it's oria/tresa.com. What was on the first slide?
Find that.
Did you pick that up, me? Oh, you didn't find it? Okay,
I couldn't
so
find that document. I read all the other documents, but that's correct.
So Candace, everybody that we talk to, we deal with has to sign one of those brochures. Everybody.
I'd actually have them initial each page. It's just clear and defining. It really is. Somebody says to you, yeah, no, I've already signed this with somebody else, then great, move on. If somebody says, oh, I'm really not certain about this, and you sit down and explain it to them and they sign it after multiple questions, and you know, like this is engaging. I don't know why anybody would go show a property without having somebody sign. Why would you go and pay $8,000 to stage a house, pay to have photos done, pay for a home inspection, pay for a sign to go on the lawn if you haven't signed them up for a listing? It's the same thing. You're spending a lot more money with a buyer than you are with a seller. I'm thinking all the time, you take them for coffee, for lunch, driving around in the car, meeting them here, meeting them there, in order for them to say, oh, gee, well, my sister just got her license, I'm gonna buy from them. I mean, I use that all the time. My younger sister's dynamite agent in Ottawa, and when she first started, she had 2 little kids, and she went around. They worked a lot with the Army, so she had some people that were here from, I forget, Calgary or something. They'd come in for the weekend. She was on a big team at the time and wanted to see a few of the listings. So she took them around and showed a number of listings, not just her teams, but a number of other listings, which you cannot do. Now, under the new act, you certainly can't do, and that's something that's saving. But if we were to go right now and show anything other than Keller Williams Advantage listing without a signed BRA, we are breaching our contract. We are also negating our insurance. You go show a Royal LePage property right now to an unsigned buyer, you are not insured. Anything is stolen, they fall down, they break something, your insurance, your RICO is not covering you in that property. Anyways, so she went around Saturday, took them out for lunch, Sunday morning, picked them up again, babysitter the whole weekend. And certainly Sunday afternoon, they picked one. They're going to make an offer on it. She said, great, I'll meet you back at the office. I'll pick up some sandwiches and meet you there. Why would we go to your office? Well, I can do up the offer. Oh, no, we have an agent.
Oh, God.
They called me in tears. I said, well, when did you ever go over the buyer agreement with them? Well, I didn't. I just figured that they didn't know anybody. Don't figure. Get them signed up. And what we're doing now is either as an SRP or a buyer. Don't get them signed as a buyer, guys. You're value agent. Why? You just sign them under a self-represented. Who wants to be self-represented in buying a $2 million home? Even the lawyers don't know all the ins and outs of buying. I had 2 lawyers where I double-ended the property in Sarah Ashbridge. They paid way more than they should have. But you know what? It's my listing. I was so done with them thinking that they knew everything. I thought, okay. Here's the price you should pay. Well, we're not going to quite. Well, you won't get it then. Well, we don't want to do this. Well, you won't get it then. Lawyers, both of them. Anyways, we still talk. I never tell them I told that story. That's my story. The information guide contains all the info that you want to know. Okay, so this has the benefits of being a client, the duties and obligations that you have to the client, the obligations of the client to you, the risks of receiving assistance as an SRP. Okay, so as an SRP, well, what did the house across the street sell for? It's not known knowledge. I can't share that with you. It's against my obligation. If you sign as a client, I can give you lots of information. I can do a comparative market analyst for you. I can do all that for you. But as an SRP, I cannot represent you. You show and sell to an SRP. That's the only way I can say it. That's it.
Oh, no, I was just like, yeah, here you go.
Yeah.
On the paper.
Yeah. The content of the agreements with the brokerage, including the remuneration. So they're not calling it commission anymore. They're calling it remuneration, and what they're actually stating in this guide and in the Working the Realtor, that there's no set commission percentage. There's no set commission price. And this is something that really goes to me is, now they're kind of opening up for the seller to look at it and say, well, I don't know, what if I just pay $5,000? You have to have your scripting in your conversation. You just pay $5,000. There ain't going to be anybody that's showing up at the door. Right? So all of it. How to bring a concern to the attention of the brokerage or file a complaint with RICO. This is showing the consumer how to come fight us. Sure. Give them all the information and arm them before we've even shown them the property. I mean, it's, as I say, clear as mud. Where does the information guide come from, and does a client have to acknowledge the receipt? As a realtor, we're mandated to provide this, right? We want to make sure that our clients are well informed if they're going to be a client or they're going to be an SRP. So yes, we must inform everyone of the consumer information guide, okay? When will the information guide be available? Huh, guess what? I'm first. As Rico is providing the guide, the area continues to work with them on the launch. We will continue to provide our members with updates on the timing of the new document and share resources to help explain the information guides to your clients. So still, again, clear as mud, guys. I just need that everybody has watched the videos and that, you know, we're moving forward. This is happening. It's not getting turned away. It's happening. The new information guide will be replacing working with the realtor. The new guide will not be a replacement for the working with the realtor. There is still what we know as the working with the realtor, but on that form is, and I'm not talking forms today because they're still changing them. Every time I go in and look, it's a new form. On the working with the realtor, the one pager, they have multiple representation, self-represented party, designated represented party, brokerage represented party. There's like, so we'll have another class on that. I really want to see, as I say, I registered for the class December 7th with Mark Wasler to the pitfalls of the new TRESA. I think I'll have a lot clearer answers for some of this muddy waters for them. Are we good? Are we moving? Okay. What happens to our current listings? Okay, this is where we go 120 days. Any buyer rep that you have right now, any current listing that you have, lease, sell, buy, anything that you've got written before December 1st. So some people are saying, well, I'll get the listing signed right now to start January. Sure, go ahead. Sign today. This is what we're using. Until you get comfortable with it, right? I mean, so there's the agreements that have not expired within 120 days. So you can't renew it, can't amend it and say it was like in February, you can't say, I'm going to extend it. Okay. In January, you can't, you're going to extend it. If you're going to extend a listing right now, extend it right now. What?
Paul raised his hand.
Sorry,
Oh.
This would be amazing though.
Oh.
How would that affect something with a much longer closing, like pre-construction, that could be a couple of years?
Good question. Good question. I mean, your agreement that you signed today and it's closing in 2028, most likely for new construction now, right? Or maybe 2029. I would think that your documents are fine. I don't think that they're going to go back and they bought it's under the rules of now. Right. But I will, who's the questions that I don't know, we're writing down that I can get the answer to. So they've got it. I forgot about you guys out in Neverland there. Ah! All righty. Yeah. Multiple representation and limited services representation. That's actually two separate documents. I would go to the limited service representation if you want to do a SRP. I would go limited services representation. Okay, that's going to cover you for, you cannot show a property of Royal LePage unless you will have the limited or a buyer rep sign. All you're doing is giving service to an SRP. They want it, like they come into your open house and they say, oh, I love this house. Can I see the one across the street when you're done? Nope. No. Okay, so they're representing themselves. They have to call that listing agent and go with that listing agent. So sign them under a limited or a buyer rep. I'm pushing the buyer rep so hard right now, guys. Why would someone at this day and age, with all the legalities, all the legalese that are going on, want to sign and represent themselves? They're not saving any money. They're not saving any time. They're not getting any information. And that's your script right there. Why would you do that? I want to sign you under a buyer representation so I know you're protected in your time, your money. Like, you know, you get all the time a call. You're the listing agent. I can get a better deal. Yeah, no, you can't. And I always use my lawyers as an explanation. I always use that story because it sincerely happened. They were the buyers. They thought they knew more than anybody else, and they actually paid more than they should have. I was representing the seller at the time. If I'm representing the seller in our brokerage right now, I would have somebody else do the offer. We'll get into that in a bit, but you know what? Why muddy it? Why muddy it? Bring somebody else in. You know, we share like we're very good. You can pick somebody that you would say, can you do this offer for me? Here's what they're gonna do. Give them some advice. You nurse it along. I'm not gonna get involved in it. Bring me the offer. You know, but unless you're clear with your seller, this is one offer and it's my buyers and everybody's good and it's all disclosed and everybody's happy with it, that's fine. Clear multiple representation, because I have a buyer rep sign. Clear multiple representation. The seller, when I do the listing presentation, understands. There's 150 dynamite agents that work this area. Hopefully one of them will bring us the offer. It'll be fantastic. Well, do I get a discount for that? Why? They're working as hard as they can. Don't you get something for it? No, no, it's like a cooperating broker. It's just another agent, just happens to be under our office. So as long as the seller and the buyer agree that these representations have been clearly explained. So when you see your listing agreement, you're going to see 5 different representations that come when we receive an offer. So when you're explaining your listing paperwork, you're going to explain these representations so they're clear. Of course, when you come with the offer and you're explaining multiple representations, do I get a lesser price? No. Oh, well, what, you know, you're selling it yourself. Do I get it? No. So. Marietta.
Hi, yes. So again, to be clear, the limited service representation, is it some sort of service you'd give to a buyer who's, let's say, just an example, who's unrepresented, but this action or help would directly benefit your seller that
Exactly.
you're, right? Let's say you just go to the house and open the door for a showing, right? Although the buyer is unrepresented, right? This has to be directly a benefit to your client, right? That's the only service you can give.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. It's much like we use a client representation right now when we're doing our own offers on our own properties.
So that, just to piggyback off that, you can't go ahead and show that limited service representation person another property unless it's a KIDO.
Yeah, so it's clearly defined. So why do they want to run around town and like, I mean, no, okay, so actually right now I'm just gonna check on the limited because I think limited does open a little wiggle room. I'm pretty sure the way that I'm getting it is the limited is, and I shouldn't say it, but it's. Okay, so I think if we use a limited as a customer, we're okay.
Also for like the self-represented party, the only time you get a self-represented party is if you're working with a client of that transaction.
So you have somebody come into your open house and they say they wanted to have, they thought that they'd want to make an offer on your property. They're representing themselves. No one else is representing. So what it is they're having you sign complete and clear document for you working with the seller and complete and clear document that you're working with the buyer. Then there's the self-represented people that fall in the funnel here that are going to fall down. Really, they are. They're going to fall on their face. They're going to pay too much. They're not going to get the deal. But imagine that being out in like a year ago. By the time somebody got represented as a self-represented, they would have lost out on 20 deals. You got to be quick. So, you know, I mean, we've all been working as a buyer rep. So do your buyer rep. We'll do a class in scripting to get your buyer signed. Get your buyer signs. Why are you spinning your wheels? Get your buyer signed. You have a listing representation, you have a buyer representation. All this other, ugh, get rid of it. Okay, so the multiple representation and the designated representation. So we have a multiple representation, which we're going to have if we have our own listings, right? So we have 150 people in the office and we have a multiple representation as a buyer and as a seller. Those are our two. But then we have a self-represented party. They're going to be self-represented. And the designation when you do your listing is going to be Keller Williams, or it's going to be Keller Williams and Laura Ingram. So that's where we're going to, on our listing agreement, you're going to see that we have Keller Williams is always the brokerage, and then you can designate. So let's say you're a team Okay, so on Carol's team, let's say Carol is the designated person. She's the only one armed with all of the information about this listing. Nobody else on the team knows anything about this listing. So if you're a team and everybody knows about this listing, then you would have to put Keller Williams, and then you would have to put 12 names as a designated because you all know it. Or you would pick one person or two or three people to represent it. And
So
the rest
anyone-
of them would just show it
So
as
be
a
the-
self-represented.
The listing agent, Carolyn, because she does our deals, and anyone who ran the open houses?
Yes, so somebody going in and having the open houses automatically goes on as a designated. Because they
Are you
have,
sure?
unless they go in at 2:00 and they have not seen or spoken to the seller, and they unlock the door and they know nothing about the house, and they leave at 4:00 and they have not met the seller or conveyed with the seller. and
No
they-
home inspection, no nothing?
So then that's a.
Well, you don't want to be doing home
House.
inspections.
No, like they don't have
You should-
they don't have access to it, like if they're
No.
trying to pick up buyers and they're trying
Self-represented
to
is
like.
self-represented. Self-represented wanted information, they should go as a buyer rep. Self-represented gets no information, gets no comps, gets no home inspection, gets no information about the seller, their wants, their needs, their price, their closing, their nothing.
Even a pre-list home inspection.
Well, yeah, the whole concept of pre-list home inspections should probably go away with TRESA. Like, from what I have read, it is because of the whole disclosure requirements with respect to it, you really don't want to be doing them anymore as listing agents. My understanding regarding the designated representation or multiple representations, that we as a brokerage have to decide how we're going to move ahead with this.
Yes.
So,
We as a brokerage will have Laura Inward, or we'll just have Keller Williams. So as you list your property, you will say, I just want Keller Williams to be the representative, and then that opens it up for anybody else to come in.
but my understanding, and I could be wrong, because this is as clear as mud, as you've stated many times, and I totally agree with you, is that as a brokerage, we decide whether we want to move ahead in this world of TRESA using designated representation, or we want to move ahead as a brokerage using multiple representation. That it's not up to the individual, like we can't change it on every listing. So
No,
I can't
We just had a
choose.
broker call and haven't made a final on it. They're talking that we want designated, and I'm saying we should have brokerage. It's kind of like, what's the benefit of either, or there's not been a decision made.
There's also a way you can use, you can have both, but then it gets chopped.
Yeah, yeah.
It's gonna be multiple representation anyway.
And just
So
to be
back
clear,
to,
it's Keller Williams Advantage Realty?
yes.
Okay.
Yeah, the brokerage is Keller Williams Advantage. It's not a sub brokerage, it's Keller Williams Advantage. Just to go back to, because I saw a lot of things on the home inspection. If you have a pre-list home inspection for your seller orders it, your seller pays for it, and your seller has decided to have it out there. What you explain to your buyers that this is done at the seller's time, expense, and knowledge. Everything that was given in it, it's been a pre-inspection to the best of our knowledge for the foundation, the electrical, the roofing, the wiring, and the plumbing. So the main component, it's not like, the $800 full home inspection, it's a portion of it. And as you choose to do with it, you have it from the seller pays for it, it's made to the seller, and have it available as long as everything you can.
Sorry,
Yeah.
you're in mid-sentence. I know, for me, I've always considered the home inspection to be part of marketing, right? It's the same as having like a floor plan, it's the same as having photos, it's the same.
Yeah, it's up to you. It's up to you as to whether it's gonna work. Some it's not worked and some it has worked. So it's completely up to you how you do your business. And don't forget, this is given to everybody that asks for it. It's public knowledge, and you can't add and subtract things that you decide not to have in there. Okay.
Candace, I gotta ask, I feel stupid, but I'm missing something here. I'm doing an open house, and somebody comes in and says, I'm an SRP. So I said, well, what do I do? What is it?
Good. You like the house? Would you like to write an offer?
But they do their own stuff.
Have you actually been explained what an SRP is? Have you actually been explained what I can do as your buyer agent? Can I, you have 5 minutes to meet me for coffee afterwards or tomorrow? and I really explain, I think you're making a grave mistake in trying to represent yourself in one of the biggest undertakings that you will have. I've been licensed for 2 years, 20 years, 5 years, 4 years, whatever. I'm a licensed, educated realtor, facilitating real estate with many, many people, buyer, investor, renters. So I think it'd be worth your while to sit with me 20 minutes to understand what a buyer representation is as opposed to the SRP. I mean, I think if you're well versed and you're in an open house, you could snap these SRPs up in a heartbeat. It is absolutely ludicrous that somebody would be out there loose as a goose and trying to buy a property all on their very own.
Just say they do and say they, so what service then can you, if they just come with an offer, say they screw.
You can type the offer. You can type the
You
offer.
can type it.
They can direct you to type the offer. What price would you want to? I don't know. What do you suggest? I can't suggest. I'm looking for a $5,000 deposit. Okay. I'm looking to close in July of 2024. Okay. I'm looking to have the sale of my property be part of it. Okay. You're directed from the self-represented parties representing themselves. So they're going to tell you what they want on your offer.
Okay, so
You can't say,
draw
well,
the
that's
offer
done.
for them, present it to clients.
Yeah.
And do that like you would do, you're just communicating with them and that's it, nothing.
Yep.
Information on the document, nothing else.
Nothing
Just
else.
presenting the offer, and going back.
Yes. During your listing presentation, you will explain to your seller that I may have a self-represented party that will come. I will facilitate an offer for them. Basically, I've just typed it up. They will find their own lawyer. They will find their own, I haven't vetted them. I have no idea what they do. I have no idea if they're, blah, blah, blah. And you will explain to your seller at your listing office, your first opportunity, that this may happen. They may ask you to reduce your commissions. Well, no. Fine, I brought you the buyer. Does anybody else want your buyer? And those are your conversations, right?
I think people also need to keep in mind, if you do engage in a contract that way, and for all the showings, there's gonna be a home inspection, and then it comes afterwards, you've got to be there.
From soup to nuts. So you want to have,
Okay.
a look at the property.
Hours and hours and hours,
Yeah.
hours. Afterwards. Because they can't obviously go into the house on your own. And so you're going to say, oh, we'll go with a lawyer, but they're not licensed either.
Yeah, to that point, there's a Facebook group, regarding TRESA that is Mark is a part of it.
Yes.
And Sandra Jackson, if you don't know, she's very knowledgeable in real estate and in legal, situations. She's read tons of case law. She's extremely knowledgeable. She's an agent. And talking about that exact scenario where that you as the seller's representative do not want to necessarily be the only person at that home inspection. So telling the SRP that they need to have their lawyer present during the home inspection because you don't want to be there. You're there to open the door and to make sure the house is safe and secure, but they need to actually have a representative present with them.
And you've not referred a home inspector.
Yeah, so but I think that is a good strategy because if SRPs are required to pay their lawyers to be present at home inspections, then it's going to become very expensive for them. So I think as we evolve through this, I think ensuring that we're learning really good scripts to use through this process is going to help us to continue to operate in the way that.
Yeah, and to Laura's point, that's, I was saying to Candace earlier, everyone should join this group. It's an amazing group, Ontario Realtors TRESA. I think it's called an offshoot of Realty Hacks.
What is it so everybody can get on it?
It's Ontario Realtor TRESA group.
It's the first thing, as I open my
There you
Facebook,
go.
it comes up.
And so it's being facilitated and moderated by Mark, by Sandra. There's about 5 or 6 people who are giving up their time and effort to answer questions. So it's an answer question only group. Just started about a week ago. There's our 3,000 people on it, and it is amazing. It's really helpful. So definitely you guys should all join that.
Yeah. Everybody got that? Everybody took that? Everybody entered it?
But I think also from what I'm reading from this group too, that some lawyers are thinking that they're gonna get the 2.5%, which is hilarious, because of course they're not licensed.
Okay. Well, that is gonna be fun, sorry. Okay, multiple and self-represented party is this, so that's the self. That is the self that we were just talking about. What was the one before that? Did I do 2 slides? What was the one
No,
before that?
designated.
Oh, designated, okay, so that's when we're doing our listing, so this is what we, basically what we just talked about with self-represented party coming in, not the designated, the self-represented. Under designated representative, can I refer a buyer on my listing to someone within my brokerage to be their designated agent and collect a referral? It's important to remember that multiple representation is still permitted. So why wouldn't you say, sign a buyer rep and use one of the agents in my office and we'll get this done? I'm sure we can. You're under multiple representation now. You can move them from an SRP to a buyer. You can't take them from a buyer and move them to an SRP. Crazy. I mean, why would they, oh, I'm not happy with your services. I just want to self-represent myself and just rip up the buyer rep, do the cancellation on it and bye-bye. Anybody that doesn't clearly understand what the self-represented party is crazy to try and navigate this on their own. Look at the pitfalls that we run into every day. Every day we're like, oh, I forgot initial here. I didn't do this. Right? It's like crazy. So yes, the decision to proceed with the designated representative or multiple representation rests on the buyer, depending on the level of service they prefer. Okay. If they choose multiple representation, then the seller also has to consent to proceed in this matter. So we're all very well versed on multiple representation, and we know I'm using that for a long time. However, if they choose designated representation, then the broker will require to assign another registrant to help the buyer. That's fine. You're going to have somebody on your team that's going to be assigned the SRP as the new designated party to the SRP. Okay. At that time, a referral fee could be issued to the listing agent with written consent to all parties. So then that's when we get into the referral fee. So when you're on a team, it's my team member is going to take care of it. Just leave it at that. Multiple representation. You have them signed under a buyer rep, or you have them signed under a self-represented.
The challenge will be if on a team, if the listing agent is the designated representative, if you have to add people on your team as designated representatives to do open houses, that's where you're going to run into issues.
Right.
Are we sure that if you have somebody from your brokerage do an open house that they have to now become a designated representative?
They don't, if they don't know anything. So they're going to do the open house, but do you have a home inspection? I don't know.
I don't know anything about.
How long has this been listed? I don't know. I have to call Laura. And how old is the roof? I don't know.
So then what does it sign up? What's the
So
point of them running the
you're
open
standing
house?
there from 2 to 4, just, I don't know.
Opening the door?
Just letting them come.
Just literally being one.
You're being the doorman. You're opening the property as a seller's service for Laura.
So then that would be a conversation around what you're getting paid.
I'd love a more clarity on that, like if we can maybe ask more questions about open houses, because it's not feasible under designated representation as a listing agent. If you have 10 houses for sale, you can't be at all those open houses. So there has to be some facility to be able to allow other agents to do those open houses and do it in a way that's beneficial to the seller. So if we could get some more clarity on how to do that.
So
that
if
would
you
be-
had 10 listings, you would pick 10 people from the office to you'd have to give them the information and put them on as a designated assigned agent. That's what it is. That's clear. That is clear.
Do they give
If somebody
them?
do an open house and you want to give the information to people so they're well versed on the house. I mean, you can't stand there and like, I don't know. You need to have information on the house. It has to be signed as a designated. This was talked about a
Here's the
lot.
thing, even as a listing agent, if someone comes through the door and they are not my client, I can't tell them anything about the house anyway.
No.
So it doesn't matter whether they're a designated representative in open house or not.
But you're offering the service to be there for the service of opening the door for the seller. You would have to have your agent put on the listing as a.
But even as let's say it's my listing, right? And I'm running an open house. The only people walking through the door that I can give information to about the house are people who are my clients. So if the general public or your client or just someone who's just decided that day they're gonna start looking for a house, so they have no representation. Right,
Yeah.
all the open house people, I can't say anything about the house anyway because they're not my clients.
Yeah.
So it's fine if they don't, if the person doing the open house is not a
If they're providing
designated
a service and
representative.
they're going into the house.
Because they
have to
can't
be
share any
designated.
more information than I can share, and I'm the designated person.
Right, they're representing the property as a service to the seller, doing the open house, so they have to.
Well, that's the fight directly to the people. We can't those information to, it's people that
Sorry?
are.
Yes.
So I'm just,
Yeah.
I know.
Just like it out of my head.
Yours not.
So you're saying like for.
If they have to add a
Wait a second.
if they have to add, does that mean that they have to pay them commission? Is that why? It's not the issue? Like if you
They're
add
doing the
one,
open house.
oh,
Can it be like in a schedule?
Well, some teams will have to make a schedule, because there might be 5 or 6 people, you can't just fit all in one line.
so they won't be on MLS with the team lead.
On the MLS listing will be, whoever is representing that listing. So I'm just sorry, Laura, I'm just coming back to you. You're Dan, it's your listing, your name is on the MLS. And then,
You know how you go into open houses and you see the laneway report, the hood queue report, if there was a home inspection, a copy of the home inspection and like other little things about the house? You're saying that like you
if
can't
your
even.
seller has provided all that and your seller is saying that's okay to provide it at the open house.
But they have to put that in writing to tell you to provide it, because
Yes,
you're saying
it has
that,
to be in
because
writing.
you're saying when people walk in and you're not allowed to tell them anything, but all these lovely printed thingies, here you go. So you can tell them things?
It's true.
How am I not gonna answer?
That's where you're, because I'm like, I agree, if you can't say anything or do anything, how can you have a copy of a home inspection? How can you have a copy of a laboring report? How can you have a copy of hood queue if you're not allowed to tell them anything?
Let's go to the next slide.
Paul's got a question.
It's, yeah.
Paul, check.
Paul, check.
Hello. If I was covering an open house for another agent at the brokerage, another realtor at the brokerage, and they feel they need to add me as a designated representative, does that open me up to any liability if that original listing agent ends up in a lawsuit over the sale of the house?
Probably.
Yeah, that's a great question. That's a good one.
That would not be good for me.
Candace, looking at Sue's,
Okay, yes, we have the reporting and Joey is taking these questions.
so looking at Sue's question there, I was thinking the same thing. So in an open house, if I am sharing information about the house, am I not acting as a benefit to my seller? So
Yeah, like you're
therefore I
trying to
can-
sell the house. So wouldn't you want to share information about the house, maybe not.
If
tell
the
the
seller has
location?
given you written approval for you to share the home inspection, like I'm going, so the self-represented party is representing themselves. Or innocent bystanders coming into the house.
No, but if I'm,
Nobody's represented in any way, shape or form.
But you're not.
but if
you're not
I'm the
getting-
listing agent,
And they come into your open house and they ask you, how much is this house? It's 1.5 million. Is there a home inspection? We have a home inspection. What is in the home inspection? Unless the seller has given you authority to share that.
I understand.
so if I have a
Uh,
listing, I have to ask the seller, can I talk about the benefits of this house at the
Yes.
open house?
Yes. What is to be shared and what is not to be shared? Like when we say, okay, so on the, when we're at an open house and we have a printout of the listing, we don't have the taxes, we don't have the seller's name. Like there's a lot of things that would protect the seller. The seller will be approving everything that will be shared.
So we'll have a seller's consent form. You have to
Yep.
sign that.
There is a seller's.
Isn't it called a listing agreement?
Right from the listing, there's a lot in that. I actually have one form that I'll show you, which is the listing agreement.
It will be a new form for MLS listing too, with all the details that you can list and not list.
Yes.
Because like, I mean, if
Oh, when
you,
you're broker loading an MLS, I don't know how that
No.
is.
but you're, like, for example, you're listing.
Like the data form.
You sign the listing, right? You're the listing agent. You can't, you put it on your Instagram, whatever, TikTok, whatever, right? Does that have to be also aligned with what seller allows you to put on those?
Yes. What you're gonna be sharing for the listing to sell and service the property, the seller has to agree to allow you to do it.
So could we?
Like the pictures don't go off MLS. That needs to be explained to the
But the
seller.
sellers
They
can,
don't want that on there. The buyer doesn't want that on there. It's part of the MLS listing agreement that those photos stay there. The buyer buys the property, wants the seller, wants us to remove the photos, we can't. We can't.
so every tiny little specific thing that we want to do, we have to have the seller approve it, or can we then just say, approve the general, my ability to promote this house?
I don't think they've got.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Opening
that's kind
yourself
of what I was
to,
gonna say, is if we can keep the seller's direction.
write up
kind
the
of
whole
general,
plan.
And then even,
Just
could we say, like, to
sell my
allow
house.
any other agent to also provide information as well? Could we kind of?
At open houses, my agents on my team or from my office will be providing customer service.
Yeah.
SRPs.
Could you still do that without having them being designated?
You know, from what I understood on Thursday, no, but
But
we
it
got
is
it written
seller's
down,
direction.
so we're asking.
And if the seller agrees on that seller's direction.
And my understanding is just because somebody comes into an open house doesn't mean they're an SRP.
No,
They're
it's
just-
just
they're
on
just
next door neighbor.
Yeah. They're only an SRP in the act that we actually create. So they define themselves as that.
Yeah.
Until they're defined as that, they're just a person, you know,
Just a
any
person.
particular person.
Personal interest.
I know, it's interesting. What was the other? Okay, so this is the one class, and then about half an hour ago or an hour ago, there was another class. So this one is November 30th from 1 to 2:30. There's another one, December 6th. That was the first, yeah. December 6th at 10, okay? So they're gonna keep doing them and doing them and doing them, and then you can take down Ray's email address, realtorinresidence@aria.com. He can answer a lot more questions than I can. But I just wanted to make sure that, like, it's just another, what I do want to show is I want to show the listing agreement though. If you go over there. So if you go on to aria.com/TRESA. Is it aria.com? Yeah, okay, so it is. So, oh, not logged in again, shoot. You know my password? Oh, here. I am logged in. Go down. No. I'll go down. There. Okay, so 200.
Show more.
Okay.
When-
Sorry, I wanted to go on the 200 series. Here, yeah. Listing agreement. Okay, here we have the brokerage and the seller, and then we have. Oh my God, is that bizarre? They changed it. They freaking changed it. Oh my God,
You're allowed to
So-
swim.
isn't that crazy?
It
So-
did say designated representative.
Yes,
on
it
there
did, didn't it?
yesterday. I looked at it yesterday.
It did
Yeah.
this morning, because I was gonna print it, and I thought, well, I'll just print it right here.
Oh my God. You did.
Whoa, blow my mind. Okay, so what it was, so they must have explained that, now they negate all of what I just talked about, that it will just be the brokerage and the seller. And then scroll down, unless they put it somewhere else. But I did want to show you, the multiple representation, it's like, okay. Okay,
It's still an old form though. 2022.
oh my gosh, go down.
Doesn't look any different.
They might have
Okay,
taken
no,
the new
this-
form down.
No, that's not even it.
Oh, this is
The
an
wrong
old, this is
form?
2022 form.
Okay, so, yeah, so they're like continually updating this, and that's why they say don't go on until.
Okay, we're like 4 days.
Feels like it should be done. Unbelievable. Okay, well, I was just gonna show you that there's a designated, and then there's all the multiple representation by,
What's the, in the top left, 2024 standard forms of.
yeah. That's what we just went
That's
on.
what we were on?
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
that's where we were. We'll navigate this together, guys. I mean, I love that Mark Morris, I mean, he is so active that he has entered into this TRESA webpage, Facebook. So go on the TRESA Facebook with questions. Call me with any questions. You know, I always say call the broker on call. I mean, Sue Antag is a broker on call. Are you really well versed on this? Sue? God love you, Sue. Anyways, we will get through this. As I say, it's clear as mud. Don't worry about it. We're gonna get through this. Are there any other questions? I mean,
All we said at the bottom there.
who?
Paul,
Oh,
at 12:58, what happens?
Oh, wait. That's theirs. They paid for it. They bought it. But you know about it. You gotta let them know. You have to disclose it. You now have information that you know about. Must be disclosed. You have any information about a property that will affect the sale or outcome at a later date that you know and you're holding back? Yeah. Set up yourself to come. Does it help? Jen, hi.
Hi. So just for clarification, my head is spinning. This is December 1.
Yes.
Today's November 27th.
Yeah, and Jen, I just showed you the forms, the new forms. They're not the new forms. We'll keep changing it, bringing them down and changing and bringing down.
So what do you recommend we do? Like if I'm signing a buyer up, I don't know, today or tomorrow, I
Do
can
it
do all.
tomorrow. It lasts 120 days.
At least.
Yeah. So do anything that you can get signed today or tomorrow. Get it signed, guys. Get it signed on the 30th at midnight. I don't care. Get anything signed today until it becomes clearer. I mean, honestly, you know, they keep having the forms up, having them down. I don't think it's gonna be as bad as we're all kind of angsty about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then if we're putting an offer in,
After the
before-
first, you go into web forms, it'll be all the new forms. You're gonna go, wow.
yeah.
And we'll see what those new forms look like on the morning of the first.
I mean, the reality is, we have heard a lot about this. The consumers, the buyers and sellers out there, they're completely unaware. And I think what's really important is that we need to just be cool about it all. We don't need to be worried about it or saying, you know, there's this whole new thing and we don't know what's going on. Like,
It's not
I think
that.
the buyers and sellers are going to live in the conversations we have around them. And so just, you know, so there's some new documents. Bear with me while we work through this. And for them, a lot of this is not going to change. There's not going to be a lot of people out there who want to be self-represented parties. It's their biggest investment, buying or selling, and they want our guidance in order to help them with that. So I think a lot of this, 3 years from now, we're going to be, you know, operating very similarly to how we are today. And it's just the bumpiness of getting from now until then.
My mom sold real estate years and years ago. There was an offer. And there was an offer that was less paperwork, even though it was carbonated. There was a lot less paperwork then than now.
You know, Candace, I think you're gonna find that,
200.
Yeah.
I found it. Yeah, it's
There, yeah, okay. Yeah. So there we are. The self-designated property, okay? And then go down what I really wanted you to see. And this is, as Laura says, you guys interpret this the best way you want to interpret it. Get a listing sign, get a buyer sign, and be done with it. Get an offer sign. Don't go and go. Multiple representation. Look at this. There's the representation. There's the multiple representation. Look, multiple representation, limited service, designated, and self. This is all on aria.com/TRESA.
Well, they have a forms explain version.
Yes, there is. Go back to that. So go on here because all of the forms are explained.
So when you get to this download English, French, or
Logging, scroll down, and the forms are here.
Most to the very bottom. Oh, sorry. Oh, okay, so no, that's it. I thought they had the explain.
I
Okay,
saw
so
one.
go-
If you click on it, if you click on 200, you can download French, English, or explained. No
Yeah, and explain to you, yeah.
We saw that.
Yeah.
So confirmation of cooperation, the listing agreement, your buyer agreement.
What I couldn't find on here was like,
I can send this to you. I got this from Monica.
Oh, it's on the
It was on the website.
Yeah.
Is this on Rico?
okay, that's what I couldn't find.
Because we have to send both of them.
This is the information guide. This is the one that can be signed. Right now it's 13 pages. I don't know how many. There is a regular one, but this is explaining each party, representation of each party individually.
And there's that one.
That's on Rico's phone.
If it's self-represented party, you have to explain both. And if it's,
They'll decide once you explain the realtor.
yeah,
Okay, so they'll decide. When they say, "I just want to represent myself," like, go into the conversation. How do you see that working?
yeah.
Are you gonna go out and look at a bunch of open houses and then decide what agent you're gonna choose? So. Fun, guys.
Crazy.
Anything else?
Thanks, Candace. Thank you,
Okay.
Candace.
Look at your forms.
Yeah.
Hey, it's just, when you open up web forms on the first, it'll be all guaranteed. You know, when you go into your web forms and you go to do it, like, your kid will save, it goes, "Oh, it's been updated." I go, "Oh, okay." And then I look and I go, "Yeah, it's been updated." So all my stuff's gone.
Are we gonna have to, we're probably gonna have to redo all the kits, right?
Yeah, they're all vegan. Even the working with the realtors is different.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
like, you'll have to do.
Yeah. Well, they'll update your kit, but it'll all be blank. You won't have Keller Williams, you won't have your commission, you won't have your name on it, you won't, yeah. All the new forms will automatically go into your kits, if you have kits. I mean, they have now, whenever they change your form, and I see that you open up your kit, and it says a new form has been done, then you click on it, and the new form's in there already. So my understanding is that when you go to do a listing, fill out all your listing stuff in your MLS, that it'll be in your kit, that new one.
Well, this is perfectly clear now.
Right? You know how many webinars I've watched, how many times I've been to Rico, how many searched Treb? It's like unbelievable, and it's still, as I say, it's clear as mud. I think one day it might just.
I got lots to
I
talk
get
about
it.
it.
All I know clearly is I will not represent anyone unless they're under a listing contract or a buyer.
Right.
And then you carry on as usual.
So, it's like an hour.
I know, for us, it's been in for all these, years. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Of course, it's-